I know somebody who's in need. And then we get in touch with those people, and they say, look, brother, I was really ashamed to get in touch. You know, I know the masjid is there, but, you know, I was just really embarrassed. And I've said to them, brother, sister, that's what we're here for. You know, you shouldn't feel embarrassed. You know, at the end of the day, we don't want you suffering. You know, and that's the whole point of having a masjid. That's the way the Prophet's masjid used to be like. You know, so everybody knew that in times of hardship, they didn't have to suffer in silence. They could approach the masjid.
Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. So Salim, just I think for the viewers out there, what are you finding different in terms of the work that you're doing? So this year you recently started as the head of welfare and youth. You know, you had plans for the year, you had plans for Ramadan, the projects that you were going to run. Coronavirus occurred. I mean, what have you been getting up to?
Well, you know, we had all of those plans. We were thinking about what we're going to do, loads of things for the youth, things that would involve physical activities or interaction. And it's completely changed. I'm not behind a computer anymore. Normally I'd be sitting in this office and I'd be managing things day to day. I'm in the food bank now. So I'm there, you know, packing parcels. You know, I've got a coordinator who helps me schedule everything. And then we're working on the PPE campaign. So that's taking up a lot of my time, you know, going back and forth to the factory in the jewelry quarter, having management meetings, trying to find money through grants, you know, because the mosque has taken a hit in terms of fundraising. So, you know, I'm thinking ahead, you know, not just during lockdown, but thinking about how we're going to survive afterwards. And if I want to do all of the work with the youth, you know, with the community, we do that. We have the elderly's lunches here. We were looking at expanding that. We were looking at the cancer support. All of these things, you know, I can't really focus on at the moment. One, because I haven't got the time to do it. And two, because we haven't got the money. Three, because we can't actually do that in a physical location anymore. So I need to think about how we're going to do that going forward.
No, you're right. And I think, you know, in terms of what I've noticed from just coming into the masjid, you know, a few times a week, and I just see you running around. You know, people are coming in, people are dropping big deliveries off. You're processing all of those deliveries, all the stock. You're restocking the shelves, and then, you know, you're constantly going out. But alhamdulillah, I think from what I can see, you've got a decent team of volunteers. One of the things that I'm always wondering is, what's the motivation for these volunteers? You know, they're coming forward. You know, they're taking their time out after you know, they're leaving their houses. You know, it is, you know, dangerous times to be out as well. You could potentially get the coronavirus. Why are they coming out, and why are they volunteering?
I think it's almost the reason why I'm here in the masjid, because we need Allah. We need the rewards. We need His mercy. We want this work to continue. You know, if we don't do it, who else is going to do it? So, you know, the volunteers who I've spoken to, some of them are just bored at home. Some of them just feel like, oh, I really don't want to be stuck at home. But when you get deeper into it, what drives them to come and do this rather than some other volunteering, you know, to help with the mosque? It's because they've got that relationship with the mosque. They've been here when it's been open, when it's been packed full of people. They've been here in the good times. So now we're in the tough times, and they're saying to me, look, whatever we can do, we want to help. You know, some people go through personal problems. They've been through difficulties in their life, and they're just saying, look, I just want to help. I just want to do something for Allah's sake. You know, it's maybe my little bit. And you know, we've had volunteers who are very rich volunteers who have said, look, I want to give money. You know, yesterday I had somebody who came into the car park, a dear brother to us, and he says, look, I just want to know which families need money, and I want to give money to them. Then you have other volunteers who say, look, I just want to deliver some food, even if it's just one parcel. I just want to deliver some food, just do my little bit. So, you know, everybody is doing it out of the goodness of their hearts.
You know, you just mentioned a point there, and it reminded me of something that occurred last Ramadan. And you know, subhanAllah, so many people in our congregation are going through so many challenges in their life, and we don't appreciate how much a masjid would ground them in their religion and in giving them stability. And this brother came to the office, and they were selling cakes in the car park, but he wanted to pay by card. So he came in with a box of, I think it was cupcakes or something, and he said, I want to pay by card. So we said, brother, it's £10, and he donated £100. And the money was going to one of our charity projects abroad. And he just said, we said, sure, that's a very large donation, Jazakallah khair. And the brother said, he goes, make dua for me. He goes, we've been trying for, I think he said, close to 10 years to have a child. And he goes, my wife got pregnant, but earlier on today she just had a miscarriage. And he goes, I'm giving this donation to support my wife and just to try and gain some rewards. And ultimately we want to show that we're happy with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's decision. That even though it was 10 years, but for me it just, when I saw the brother and when we received the payment, we didn't think about that, and when he explained that to us, subhanallah, it just puts things into perspective. And so many people are going through these problems in their life, and a lot of people then do volunteer. They're like, brother, I want to do something for the community. I'm going through hardship and I know how bad it feels, and I want to help people.
I had a sister who was exactly like that. One of the second volunteers who came to pick up a parcel when we first launched the service. She came outside, put the parcels in a boot, and she says, brother, just please make dua for me. I've got 3 children with special needs, and I'm doing this for them. I'm doing this, because I want, hopefully, inshallah, they'll get the benefit of it, the barakah from it. So she said, make dua. And that's just one example. So many people, I've got volunteers who work very closely with me. They've lost loved ones, just recently, just a few months ago. And, their hope is that, inshallah, they will be with them in Jannah. So how do you get to Jannah? You come, you work for Allah, you work for the masjid. Because at the end of the day, we're that central hub, we're that point, which is serving the community. And in my role, alhamdulillah, I get to hear these stories every day. I could sit here for hours and just talk about all these various stories.
But it does increase your iman though, honestly. I feel so humbled that we have the opportunity to speak to these people. And a lot of people, when they ask, why do you work as a masjid? One of the reasons why, for me, that makes it worth it is just hearing these stories. And we don't share a lot of these stories because they are quite personal. But it really does humble you when you see the struggles that people are going through. But look, we've discussed the volunteers. What about the recipients? The people who are on the receiving end of these sort of packages. Is there still a need? What sort of condition are the people in? What's the condition of the people in Birmingham?
It's bad. It's increasing. Yeah, and it's not just food poverty. We have, every day around 17 deliveries that we do. Some of the families are 10 people in a family. Some of them are only 2 people in a family. But every day we see an increase. We see people contacting us, not just for food, but asking about zakat, asking about other things. We've heard you're running a food service. We heard you're running a zakat service. We heard you're running a counseling service. I know somebody who's in need. And then we get in touch with those people, and they say, look, brother, I was really ashamed to get in touch. I know the masjid is there, but, I was just really embarrassed. And I've said to them, brother, sister, that's what we're here for. You shouldn't feel embarrassed. At the end of the day, we don't want you suffering. And that's the whole point of having a masjid. That's the way the Prophet's masjid used to be like. So everybody knew that in times of hardship, they didn't have to suffer in silence. They could approach the masjid. Maybe because in the past, masjids traditionally in the UK have been distant from the congregation, but that's why we've tried to be different, and that's why we want to be open to people. And it's not just Muslims, so many non-Muslims. I think around about 65-70% of the people who receive our food parcels are non-Muslims. So that just shows, I was on a call the other day with all the food banks in Birmingham, Muslims and non-Muslims, and I had people on there praising Green Lane who I've never met before. And they've said, oh, there's an MP, you've helped one of my constituents or a few of my constituents. Wow. So, people know about the work we're doing and they appreciate it, even though we don't see how far our reach is going, but it is very wide.
So I think, it's a really opportune moment now then to say Jazakallah khair to the congregation, for all the support that they've given. I think for me, seeing everyone come together, even if they can't volunteer their time, they're volunteering money, and they're making dua. SubhanAllah, I think, so many people have made so much dua for this masjid and for the work that's going on. I think that's where the barakah lies. That everyone is sincerely asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make the Muslim community in Birmingham strong, make their response strong, make them be a benefit to the society around them. And something that you mentioned, it's about having the prophetic model of a masjid. We're here for the community, we're facilitating the ibadah, which is our primary purpose, alhamdulillah, we're doing that. But also we're here for everyone. And when we become, and we have become, alhamdulillah, an integral part of the community, as you said, 60 to 70% of our welfare service users are non-Muslim. That's an amazing statistic. And whenever I tell media outlets that statistics, the news reporters are shocked. They go, really? I said, yeah. I said, we're here for everybody, regardless of who they are. We want to serve, and we just genuinely want to do what's good for the community. And I think, people are starting to appreciate that. And, I think through your efforts and your team's efforts, this has become apparent, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah, but, I've said it before, it's been very easy for me to come into this role in the masjid, because at the end of the day, it's all the work that's been, done in the past, over the years, building the masjid up, all the support that's been given. I've come in, alhamdulillah, into this role, and I've got a platform, we've got a marketing team here that makes it easy to raise awareness. I speak to other food banks, and they're struggling to get referrals because people don't know about them. Alhamdulillah, on our Facebook following alone, 750,000, but that doesn't happen by chance, that happens by effort built over the years. All the operations that we have here, it makes it easy for me to do my job, and that's why we need the masjid.
So what about the PPE campaign? You mentioned that before. So these are our frontline staff. Really in this crisis, you can class the NHS workers as heroes. They're going in. Some of them are getting infected, some of them are dying, yet they're still going into work, they're still ensuring that anyone who is sick is being treated. The PPE campaign is our way of ensuring that they are protected. Alhamdulillah, there's a Muslim-owned business in Green Lane Masjid. Both of you came together and you've spearheaded this project. I mean, what's your experience with that project been so far, and especially the nurses and the doctors and the NHS trusts who are coming? Is it serious? And how are they when they receive these items in particular?
So the brother has been very supportive on the campaign. Mashallah, from the beginning he said, look, I can trust Green Lane. I want Green Lane to be involved because I know about your network of volunteers. I know when I trust you with something, you can deliver it. So alhamdulillah, it's been very, very good. In terms of the people we've impacted, the doctors, the nurses, we hear people in our communities, in our families, in hospital. Just last night, I was given the news, a family member has been admitted into a hospital. So it just goes to show every single person in the community knows somebody that's being affected, with the virus or with ill health. And it's those doctors and nurses, regardless of their religion or race, that are treating them. So isn't it our duty to protect them or to do what we can to protect them? So this campaign was set up for that reason. And alhamdulillah, the brothers who are part of the management team, beautiful brothers, really sincere, and it's all not about any money whatsoever. It all goes completely free. The project sponsor is putting in his own money into it. We're just putting in our effort into it. And alhamdulillah, it's been very successful. We've just reached over 6,000 units delivered.
So sorry, this is 6,000 items of PPE that you delivered to, and these are, from what you told me last time, they're NHS trusts as well, aren't they? Like you're going and you're delivering to people who are working on the front line, like the doctors who are actually there in the emergency rooms, on the ventilators, dealing with the most at-risk patients, right?
Yeah, exactly. In the hospitals, in wards, in GP practices, in homes now, care homes as well, because there was a demand for PPE in care homes. Some of the figures, weren't announced until recently, but everybody was aware. We had people working care homes contact us saying we're desperate. We had nurses contacting us saying we're desperate. There was one nurse who came to pick up some items the other day from the factory, and we did a little interview on camera. And she just gave a standard thank you. We're really grateful. And it was only when we went outside onto the road, she started telling us a bit about her story, how every night she goes home and she spends 2 hours disinfecting everything, washing, cleaning, just so her mom who lives with her doesn't get infected. And she said that's the stress of it all, because she didn't have the garments at work to cover her arms. She didn't have the overalls.
So when she was going home, she thought, hang on, these parts of my body weren't protected.
Yeah.
So she's literally disinfecting herself and all of her
Everything.
clothing so that her mom, who's elderly, won't get...
Every day. And she was so grateful to us. And she says, really, this is going to take so much stress off my back. And I'm just really grateful to you. Wow. And we all stood there, we were all, silenced. And it just goes to show what people are doing for us, and that nurse could be looking after my mum or dad. Yeah. It could be any of us.
So Salim, what have you got planned for the future then? So we've got the immediate crisis now, but don't you think the effects of this are going to be long term? Yeah,
definitely. I mean, we launched a listening service because we knew that there's a need. People are going to go through anxiety and depression, old and young. People are going to, suffer because of what's happened, and it means that the work that we need to do after lockdown ends is going to be really important. There's going to be young people who have been stuck at home, frustrated. They're going to want to get out there. They want to release that energy. So we as a masjid, we have to take that responsibility. We have to be able to provide those activities, engage with them. For the elderly who have been stuck at home, frustrated. We used to have an elderly lunch that used to run. Now we want to expand that. We want to make sure that the elderly are looked after. There's going to be many people who are going through issues like domestic violence, people who are sort of like lacking in skills or maybe lost work. And all our services are there to make sure that they get back to a normal life. Even before lockdown, people were struggling. People were struggling with the effects of, the economic situation in this country, immigration issues. And we were trying to support them. So now this is going to make it even greater. We need to do more, once this all ends.
And I think you're right. Do a needs assessment. Find out exactly what's wrong with the community. What are the major problems they're facing, and then inshallah, our work then hopefully will be built around that. But I think in all of this, there's lessons for the Muslim community, I think, and one of them is our infrastructures need to genuinely serve the community, and they need to be strong. Mm-hmm. When our forefathers came to this country, because most Muslims are second or third generation immigrants, they came with the intention of, let's make some money and let's go back home. Majority of them, that didn't happen. They stayed. And now, when they built these masajids, it was built with that intention in mind. But I think our mindset and our mentality needs to change, and this coronavirus has proven it. Most masajid up and down the country are really struggling financially now. And one of the things that we need to do is ensure that our masjids are as financially independent as possible. And one of the ways I think that can happen is through direct debits. That's where, if we can get thousands of Muslims to pledge something as small as 67 pence a day, and that comes up to £20 a month. It's a small amount. Most people won't even feel it. But if the Muslim community comes together and does it, that's a regular income coming in for the masjid.
I'll tell you something about that. I've had people who come to visit me at the food bank. One brother came last week, and I showed him the inside of the food bank. He was really upset. He says to me, what's going on? He says, I thought it would be rammed. I thought it would be much bigger than this. He says, I didn't expect it to be this small. And even though, alhamdulillah, it's bigger than most other food banks. Yeah. But he says, as a Muslim community, why isn't this rammed? Why isn't this packed? Yeah. Why haven't we got 2 of these buildings? Why haven't we got a soup kitchen? Or why haven't we got something where people can come in and say, we're going to do this? He was saying, and he's not the only person. He was saying, we should stop having to ask people. We should get to a point where we're not having to look for grants, we're not having to go and reach out to others outside of our community, even though we're very grateful for that assistance and that money. Within our own community, we should be funding ourselves. We should have the ability and the resources to do whatever we need to do. You know, if we want to open up businesses that are attached to the masjid, if we want to add additional services, why is it that the community can't support us to do this? And I could hear the frustration, and I took that on board. I says, look, we are planning to do these things, but we need help. Another brother said to me, you know what, I would love, Salim, if one day after Jummah, the masjid could give out £10 to every single member of the congregation, because that would mean the masjid has so much money, so much support from the community, that you don't have to ask for a penny. In fact, we're giving it out to the community. But that can only happen if the Ummah comes together and says, you know what, in these hard times, and even before that, Green Lane Masjid has been helping us. They've been the pillars of the community. The way the Prophet's mosque used to be, that's the way Green Lane have behaved and you know, have delivered their services. So now we trust them. So now we trust them. We're going to give them our money. We're going to maybe we can't do the hard work ourselves. Green Lane can do it. That's one of the brothers said that to me as well. He says, look, I can't deliver what you're delivering. I can give you the money, but I know you can deliver it.
And you know what, look, Salim, I think a lot of the points you're mentioning, it's faced by a lot of successful Muslim organizations across the UK, which is, alhamdulillah, we're good at what we do. The money that you give us, we make it stretch. But really, if we are some of the biggest masajid in the UK, you know, sometimes we don't have a concept of how much money is needed to improve our community. And, you know, when you look at, Birmingham City Council spent £300 million on this particular project, this regeneration project for this particular area, or they're giving a £2 million budget has been set aside for youth development in Small Heath. These are the types of sums that we're talking about. Most masajid in the UK are operating on between £100,000 to £200,000 a year. Green Lane, one of the biggest mosques in the UK, our income that comes in is under £1 million. It's around £800,000 to £900,000 a year. And a lot of that is ring-fence money that has to be used for specific projects. And really, a masjid this size, our income and the work that we're capable of doing, it's worth millions. There's very few masajid out there that are bringing in over £1 million. The solution is simple. Look, you know, if we had 1,000 people giving 67 pence a day, that works out to £240,000 a year.